All right, I'm scared. This TikTok creator who calls himself Jim Bob, and I'll go ahead and I'll tag him below, tells a story about the time that he worked at a morgue. And if this would have happened to me, my soul would have left my body. So he says that he worked at a morgue for about 10 years, and this is the scariest thing that he saw. He says that his job was to clean up the body, clean up the face, make it look presentable for their family to come identify. And this one body, he noticed that her eye was twitching. So he goes, he lifts her eyelid, and there is a maggot in her eye. So he says that he's trying to remove it, and it's literally trying to embed itself even further into her eye. So he grabs tweezers and is concentrating on trying to remove this maggot. And he says that he's about an inch away from her face. He says that her mouth slowly opened as far as it could go. Like that. So he freaks out. He steps back, and then the ugliest noise comes out, kind of like, oh, hell no. So he runs out, goes and gets his boss, explains what happened. They come back, and he says that everything was back to normal and that his boss didn't believe him, and she sent him home. Again, he worked there for 10 years, and he never went back after she sent him home. He was done. What would you do if you were to see something like this? I'm telling you, my soul evacuated immediately. What do you guys think?
Talk about a creepy story. This would freak me out so bad. So this woman writes that her and her husband had what started out as a dream and turned into a very real experience. She said one night she had a nightmare so bad that she woke up whimpering. In this dream, this man was crawling around on his belly, drooling and snarling and chewing on something. He was gurgling and groaning as he made his way to the side of their house, just beneath their window. Then he pulled himself up slowly and looked through their window with wild yellow eyes. So he was biting and chewing on a pair of red thong underwear. He would bite one end with his teeth and then pull them long and stretched. It looked like bubble gum. The gurgling and growling sounds that were coming out of him were so vivid in this dream. As she said, it was a very poignantly auditory dream. So the whimpering wakes her husband up, and he starts comforting her back to sleep. She said eventually she did fall asleep, and then after a little while she forgot about the dream. Okay, so get this. Not long after, her and her husband were outside doing lawn work in real waking life. Okay, guys, in the grass underneath the window, they found a stretched out pair of red thong underwear. They just froze and looked at each other like, what the F? She says she can't stop thinking about it. She'll never forget it. Guys, what the heck do you think that was? Like, how could it be a dream yet reality? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I don't even know. And if you have your own creepy story time, please submit it to the email in my bio.
This story is the perfect example as to why you should beware of any children on Halloween night that have black eyes. If you've never heard of the black-eyed children, they're almost always described in the same way. They are between the ages of 6 and 16. Usually there's 2 of them. So they'll appear as siblings. They appear to be wearing outdated clothing. They're very cold. They won't look at you directly, immediately at least. They may show up after you've turned your light off, after you're done giving out candy. And it's always said in every encounter, there is an overwhelming presence of fear and dread when they're at your door. They will always demand that you let them in. They typically will first ask to maybe use your phone, something to get you to let them in your house. And if you say no, because you're going to feel terrified already and not know why, they're going to start getting angry and they're going to start insisting. These encounters date back many, many years. I can do a video on the first encounter with black-eyed children if you'd like me to, but I'm going to get right into the story. This happened on Halloween night. Now, this person absolutely does not believe in any type of paranormal thing, at least not until this incident happened. So it's Halloween night. Their neighborhood is one of those neighborhoods where people come and drop their kids off from other neighborhoods to trick or treat there. But they said this night was actually kind of slow. There was only about 8 or 10 groups of kids, and about 9:30 they were pretty much done, and so they turned their light off and shut everything down and went to watch a ghost show. Now, she prefaces that yes, she doesn't believe in any paranormal stuff, but she does enjoy watching ghost shows every now and again. There hasn't been any knocks at the door, no trick-or-treaters for a while now, and so they decided to let their dog out of the crate because typically if there's trick-or-treaters, the dog will freaking bark. So it's about 10 p.m. and her husband gets up to go upstairs, take a shower to go to bed. And so it's just her and the dog on the couch. So she's watching her ghost show with her dog, and then all of a sudden there's 3 knocks at the door. And she's like, oh shit, it's been forever. Why are more kids knocking on our door? Our lights off. What the hell? And then they knock again. And she's like, well, I can't just ignore it because my front door has a glass panel and they can see that I'm in here, and now I just look like an asshole basically. She did say she was kind of freaked out because she's like, I don't know if it's kids, I don't know if it's some weirdos, it's Halloween night. And she looks for her dog, who is usually super guard dog, is cowered by the back door and won't come to her. So once again, there's 3 more knocks. Her husband is in the shower, she can hear the shower running, so she knows that he's not going to hear me if I call for him. And she then says a car comes up the street, so the light kind of illuminates a little bit on the porch, and she can see, oh, it's just little kids. So she felt a little better, and she's like, maybe it's just 2 of the neighbor kids. Maybe they just want to show me their costume. They're just coming back home trick-or-treating. So she goes to crack the door open just enough where her dog can't run out if she decided to, I don't know, get brave again. But the dog is terrified for some reason. And then all of a sudden she says she starts to feel very uneasy. Even though it appears to be just 2 small children, she feels scared. There's not enough light coming from inside the house to illuminate and show too many features of the kids, but she can tell that they look very young. There's a little girl, she can tell she's blonde. She thinks about 11 or 12. And then there's a little boy who looks to be about 8 or 9. She says they don't say trick or treat. And then all they say is, can we come in and use your phone to call our mom? And she was like, that's weird because what kids don't have cell phones these days? She also mentioned that these kids did not have on costumes, so they're clearly not trick-or-treaters. And she said she had 2 competing feelings, being a mom and kids needing to get a hold of their mom, but then also this like pit in her stomach that it was like something's not right. So she was like, why don't you give me your mom's number and I'll call your mom? So then the little girl was like, oh, well, my brother needs to use the bathroom, so can he use the bathroom while you call our mom? And she said she also didn't realize that she had opened the door a little wider without even noticing it. The girl steps closer as if she's gonna just walk in the house on her. So because she had accidentally opened the door a little more, it let light from the house onto the little girl's face, and that's when she saw it. Jet black eyes, like complete voids. She said in that moment, her motherly feeling.
Get ready with me while I tell you the story about the girl that lied about her identity and disappeared in 8th grade. So I was new to the school because I moved across the country, so I had to go to orientation. And she was also new. We didn't have any sort of conversation that day, but we kind of made polite eye contact and saw each other and both knew, like, okay, if we see each other in the hall, it's like, let's say hi. So the next day was school, and I hadn't seen her up until my second to last class, which was gym. I walked in and she was sitting on the bleachers, and I was like, oh, no way, like, cool, I know someone in this class, great. And I kind of sit next to her, but not close enough for a conversation. I'm very introverted, like, starting a conversation is actually one of my biggest fears. So I was like, let me just sit close enough to her, like, I don't know. And after the gym teacher was, like, done giving everything out with syllabus stuff, I started walking to the locker room, and I was kind of walking slow, like hoping that she would like catch up, and then I was like, screw it. And so I kind of like was like, hi, and we started talking, and then we walked to the locker room together. So while we're in the locker room, we're just talking, getting to know each other. Afterwards, I mean, we both went our separate ways, but I got her number, and we both exchanged Snapchats, and we were just like texting back and forth once we got home, and it was pretty normal. About 4 days went by, and I had invited her over because at this point I had met a few friends, and I knew one person because we were on the same soccer team. Because before I started school, I tried out for a soccer team. One of the girls happened to go to the same school as me at the time, which was perfect. So I knew someone, and I had met a few friends, and I was like, do you guys want to come over? And they made it work. She was like, no. Like,
hey guys, so story time of how I almost got kidnapped last night. Yay! And also, get ready with me. So, to like set the scene, me and my mom are the only ones who live in this house. And we had a friend staying with us from out of town. We also have alarms on all of our doors. So like if any door in the house like that goes outside opens, there's like a little chime sound. It's middle of the night. I was sleeping and I heard my door open, my bedroom door open. And my door is like a little bit swollen. So whenever it opened, it makes a loud sound.
Hello and welcome back to the series of spooky stories, The Haunted Tea Spill. Our spooky shirt of the day, we have Hocus Pocus. I love Hocus Pocus so much. It is literally one of my favorite Halloween movies of all time. It's one of the ones that's in my Halloween rotation. I watch it every single year, no matter what. Classic. The only reason that I haven't posted this shirt yet is because it fits more snug than I want it to. It fits, and I stretched it a little bit just to make it a little less snug. But for the size that I ordered, it came like a size and a half too small. It's super stretchy and the material is very comfortable. I just advise sizing up. If you want it, the link is right here. Also, I've been here. I promise. Trying my best here. Now to the story. I was working at a hospice as a social worker. Names and events are altered to protect privacy. #HIPAA. Part of my job is visiting and getting to know the patient's stories. I got sent out to Mr. Smith's home, and due to how far he lived out, it was always my last stop of the day. It literally took over an hour on backcountry road. The house was older and falling apart, but it isn't odd in the area that I lived in. This house, though, was always cold, dark, and had an odd smell. Mr. Smith was a cranky old man who had no family, never married, and had no children. Since he was so alone, I would try to make my visits a little bit longer. We soon had hospice aides and nurses say that they didn't want to go to his home because it was so odd. They would report things like their instrument batteries dying, their cell phones ringing but no one there. They would leave a room and their bags would be moved. I personally only had experienced my cell phone always going dead at this house, even though it had charged the entire drive out to his home. Paranormal activity. One day, after about 6 months of seeing Mr. Smith, he asked if he could show me something. He pulled out a photo album that had the school photos of 6 children in it, all different ages, genders, and ethnicities. I was confused since he had no children and told me that he had no friends or family. Mr. Smith told me that the reason he was so alone had to do with the photos of these children.
Spooky story time. A follower named Astral sent me the story and we're going to call it Truth or Dare. So grab your drink of choice and let's get started. Astral says that when he was about 9 years old, he and 2 friends decided to go to this woodsy area close to his house. It was around midnight. They got there, they were playing Truth or Dare, and he says that he was getting his friends to do pretty normal things, such as scream at the top of your lungs for 5 seconds and stuff like that. When it was his turn, he was dared to go into the closed off area and explore. He had no choice, so he had to do it. So he climbed the fence and he started walking in there. Out of nowhere, he hears some rustling in the bushes. He's a little scared, but he's like, okay, there's animals out here. Everybody calm down. He continues his path, and then out of nowhere, he literally trips on nothing. He looks, there's nothing on the floor, and he says that he was walking, and it was as if someone grabbed his foot and held it, and that's how he fell. Astral says that he then tries to get up, and something is holding him down. He's obviously freaking out, scared as hell. He starts yelling for his friends. He says he somehow gathers enough strength to get up and he starts running. As he's running, he freaks out because he runs into this figure that's about 7 feet tall. He runs as fast as he possibly can. He looks back and the figure's gone. He says that he can finally hear his friends calling out to him. He runs towards them, climbs over that fence, and he gets out of that area. Before he says anything, his friends tell him that they heard him yell. They yelled back. They kept yelling for him, but they couldn't hear anything coming back. Astral says that he never heard his friends yell for him. And he absolutely feels that whatever was in there was definitely trying to hurt him. What do you guys think? Thank you so much to Astral for sending me the story all the way from Lebanon. And if you guys have any other spooky stories that you'd like for me to read, please send them via DM or email, and I'd love to read them, and I will see you guys in the next spooky story. Bye! Spooky story time. A follower named Lily sent me this story, and we're going to call it Husband, Sister, or Mimic. Lily says that her husband works second shift. He leaves the house around 12:45 to catch the ferry and is usually home around 11:50 p.m. She says that while he's at work, she's at home with her 4 kids, just chilling most of the time. She says that one night around 8:30 p.m. she lays her babies down and she goes into her room, and she wants us to know that their rooms are directly across from each other. Around 9:30 p.m. she's in her room again, relaxing, scrolling on TikTok, and she hears, "Hey babe," coming from the living room. She says that the tone, the mood, the voice, everything that came from that statement sounded.
Story time about how a ghost tried to unalive me when I was 7. Since it is spooky season, I wanted to share one of my many paranormal experiences from my childhood with y'all. If you don't believe in the paranormal, this video probably won't be for you. However, I do understand being skeptical. This is just one of those stories where there's like no other explanation. A little bit of backstory. I was moving into my grandma's house when this happened, and I was setting up all my things. I had a Barbie dream house, and my mom had this like tiny little attic space room inside of her bedroom that I had turned into like my little playroom. So I was inside of my mom's room, but inside of another room, and the doors to both rooms were open. So I have my back to the door, and I'm like bent over picking up furniture out of my little box that I had all my like furniture and Barbie clothes and stuff in, putting them inside the Barbie house, right? And my brother, when I first went in there and started playing, he was on my mom's bed playing video games. We were the only ones in the house at the time because my uncle was at work, and my mom and my grandma were outside in the street talking to our neighbors across the street. So the only people in the house at the time when I started playing was me and my brother. My little brother and I had this little ball that we had got from a claw machine at Dave & Buster's, if y'all remember that place. I don't remember what kind of ball. I remember it was blue and orange. I don't know if it was like a basketball or what it was made out of, but it was some like smaller-ish ball that we had got from Dave & Buster's. And as I'm, putting my furniture in my Barbie house, I had like bent down to grab a piece of furniture, and this ball comes flying like so fast into the dollhouse, and it hit.
Can we show them the older homestead?
Yeah, let's go. As you know?
No, it's not. No, it's not. Was that you?
Yeah, that's on either side.
It went to both.
Yeah.
This house is on Division. Before, like if you're going, what is it, west, before getting to the underpass on 35. It's in front. They say it's called the Chinese Cemetery. That house is across the Chinese Cemetery on Division. There's a pink house in the front, and there's like a 1-bedroom little house in the back. You would go in, it was the kitchen. You would go to in one door, and it was the living room. And you go to the other side of the living room, and there was the entrance to the bedroom and the bathroom. There was no windows there, just, a wall. And we lived there when my son was 6 months old. And my mom would tell me, because he wasn't baptized, for me to put a candle, to light on the candle, because he wasn't baptized. So, I would buy a candle. I would make sure I would put it in a proper place where, nothing would happen to it or whatever. But the candle would never stay lit. It would, give out a big smoke and nothing. And the glass would break. Well, I could never get it to turn on, the candle. My husband then, he worked nights. I worked days, he worked nights. When I would get home, he would be getting ready to go to work. One time, I was sleeping, it was late, it was almost gonna be 12. And like if somebody had gotten a 2x4 and was banging from one side of the house to the other side of the house. And I woke up and the dogs were barking and barking. And then I got up and I just kept hearing the sound. And I said, well, maybe, it's kids or something. And I said, if anybody's out there, you better stop it, because I have a gun and I'm not afraid to use it. And the noise stopped. So when my husband back then came home, I told him what happened. And he said, no, you were probably just dreaming. No, I wasn't. No, I wasn't dreaming. But he didn't believe me. We went to the carnival. And we were playing that game where you used to throw the dime and you would win the glass or the cup or whatever. I said, man, look at all this glassware. I'm not going to have space to put in the cabinets because there was only like a small metal cabinet. But I got everything in there. And then again, he went to work and I was there with my son. I had him in the crib and I was in the bed. And when I was asleep, I heard the glass breaking, everything, a big noise. And I got up. I went to the kitchen and everything was the same way where I had left it. There was no broken glass, no cabinets on the floor or anything. So I went back to the room, got my son, put him in the stroller, and we walked into my mother-in-law's house. I waited there for him to get home from work. And again, he started telling me, that I was dreaming. I went to this place where they would sell, like sayings and things, and I bought a little prayer book. So I would pray. And one day, I got home from work with my son, and I was looking for the little prayer book, and I never found it. Never. It was gone. When that happened, Mary, the lady that was living in the front house, she was hanging out close to dry, and I went outside. And I told her, I just wanted to ask you something. Something happened here at the house, and I keep telling Abel, but he doesn't believe me. And she was looking at me, and she tells me, we were going to tell you. We were going to tell you, but we didn't want to tell you because we didn't want for you all to move.
They're like, yeah, we know it's super haunted. We just wanted to make them know.
And she was telling me, you see how I'm here talking to you? You see how I'm here hanging up close? And I said, yeah. Well, somebody already turned the water on, turned on the lights on and off, opened all the cabinets and closed them back again, and then opened all the cabinets and opened all the doors, opened and closed all the doors inside. But we're already used to it. So when Abel came home from work, I told him what Mary was telling me. And then Joe, her husband, confirmed it. He told Abel. So Abel had friends that lived in Rosita, Mexico. And they invited us to go with them because his mother had their little daughter. So we went. Never in my life had I ever been to Rosita and another little town they call Palau. Never, never, never. She said, I'm going to go to the viejito so he can read my hand because he's blind and he tells you your fortune. And well, we were with him, so, we went with her. She walked in, I walked in behind her, and he was blind, and he moved to one side like as if he was seeing me, looking at me, and he said, tell your friend to move out of that house because there is a demon there that wants to hurt the baby. That's what that little old blind man told Barbara to tell me, for us to move away from that house because He said, right, you buy candles and they turn into black smoke. They break. They never turn on. And I said, yes, it was true. He said, it's because there's a demon there. So move out or he's going to hurt the baby. So we came back from Mexico. We found another place. And to this day, I've seen people move in it into that house and then they move out right away. So whatever was back there then is still there now. And that house is on Division across the street from the Chinese cemetery.
ስኬሪ ስቶሪ ታይም እንደናፈኳችሁ አውቃለሁ። እናንተ ግን ቲክቶክ ክሬቲቭ አዋርድ ላይ አልመረጣችሁኝም። ቆይ ከዚህ በላይ ምን ኢንተርቴይንመንት አለ? እኔ ኢንተርቴይን እንደማረጋችሁ በደንብ እርግጠኛ ነኝ። ያው ትንሽ ባስፈራራችሁ ማለት ነው። ኤኒዌይስ ልጅ እያላችሁ ተሰሙት የነበረው ይሄ የሰይጣን ስልክ ቁጥር የሚባለው ነገር እውነት ነው። ይህንን ታሪክ ዲኤምኤ ላይ 2 3 4 ሰዎች ነግረውኛል። ትምህርት ቤት እያሉ ያጋጠማቸውን ማለት ነው። በእርግጥ እኔ በዛ ስልክ ቁጥር ደውዬ አላውቅም፣ ግን እኔ የምማርበት ትምህርት ቤትም የደወለች ልጅ ነበረችና በትክክል ስልኩ ጠርቶ አናግረው ነበር። ያው ያናገረችው ስፒሪት የትኛው እንደሆነ ማስታወስ ባልችልም ግን በጣም ክፉና መጥፎ ነበረ። አሁን ይህን ታሪክ ያጋራኝ ልጅ ምን አለኝ፣ በግሩፕ የሆኑና ያንን የሰይጣን ስልክ ቁጥር የሚባለውን ስልክ ቁጥር በየቤታቸው ለመሞከር ይወስናሉ። ትምህርት ቤት ውስጥ ነው፣ ምሳ ሰዓት ላይ ወጥተው እያወሩ ነው ይህንን ውሳኔ የወሰኑት ማለት ነው። ታዲያ ሁሉም ገብተው በዛ ስልክ ቁጥር ይደውላሉ። ከዛ አንዷ ልጅ በነጋታው ትመጣና ስልኩን ደውላ እንዳነሳና እንዳወራ ትነግራቸዋለች ማለት ነው። 5ኛ ክፍል ተማሪዎች ናቸው አይ ቲንክ እንዳለኝ ከሆነና በጣም ያን የሚያስጨንቃቸው ነገር የነበረው የ8ኛ ክፍል ሚኒስትሪ ፈተና ነበር። የጠየቀችው ምንድነው ስሟን ምናምን ከነገረችው በኋላ 8ኛ ክፍል ሚኒስትሪ አልፋለሁ ወይ ብላ ነው የጠየቀችውና ምን ይላታል? በሚገባ ታልፊያለሽ ይላታል። ይሄን መታ በነጋታው ለጓደኞቿ ትነግራቸዋለች። ከዛም የዚህኛዋ ልጅ ታሪክ ሲሰሙ ይደፋፈሩና የዛኑ ቀን ማታ ከዛ ግሩፕ መሀል ያለችው አንዷ ልጅ ደግሞ ይሄንን ልትሞክር ተወስናለች ማለት ነው። እቺ ልጅ በነጋታው ትምህርት ቤት ስትመጣ ፊቷ ቀልቶ ገርጥታ እና ይሄ የጥፊ ሰንበር ፊቷ ላይ ወጥቶ ነው የመጣችው። ታሪኩን ያጫወተኝ ልጅ ምን እንደሆነች ይጠይቃታል ማለት ነው። ምሳ ሰዓት ላይ ጠብቀው ምን እንደሆነች ይጠይቃታል። ምን ትለዋለች? ደውላ ነበረ። ደውላ ስሟን ሲጠይቃት ስሟን የተሳሳተ ስም ትነግረዋለች ማለት ነው። ከዛ በኋላ ወደ ኋላ ዙሪያ እንዲላትና አንድ ስትዞር በጥፊ እንዳላትና በጥፊ እንዳላት ምን እንደሆነ ምንም እንደማታውቅ ብቻ ግን ፊቷ ላይ ሰንበሩ እንደወጣ ትነግረዋለች ማለት ነው። በጣም ይደነግጣል። ግን እሱም ላይክ የሆነ ቀን ላይ ቆይቶ ለመሞከር ይወስንና የአባቱን ስልክ አንስቶ ያንን ቁጥር ላይ ይደውላል ማለት ነው። ሲደውል ቁጥሩ ጠራ። ሲጠራ ግን ቶሎ ብሎ አስቀምጦት ከዛ አካባቢ ሮጦ ይጠፋል፣ ይሄዳል ማለት ነው። አሁን ትልቅ ልጅ ነው ኦልሬዲ፣ ግን ይሄ ነገር ጭንቅላቱ ላይ ተቀርጾ እንደቀረ ነው። አይ ሚን ኢትስ ናት ኦንሊ ላይክ በእርግጠኝነት ብዙ ትምህርት ቤት ውስጥ የሰይጣን ቁጥር የሚባለው ቁጥር ተወርቶ ያውቃል። ስንቱ ሰው እንደሞከረው አላውቅም፣ ደፍሬ ሞክሬ አላውቅም እንደዚህ አይነት ነገር፣ ግን የሞከሩ ሰዎች እንዳሉ በደንብ አውቃለሁ። በዚህ አጋጣሚ መስታወት የምትሸጡ ሰዎች ካላችሁ፣ በዲዛይን መስታወቶችን እየሰራችሁ የምትሸጡ ሰዎች ካላችሁ ከኔ ጋር ኮላብ ማድረግ የምትፈልጉ፣ እኔ መስታወቶች ስለሚያስፈልጉኝ ዲኤም አድርጉልኝና እናወራለን። እኔ ምርጥ የሆነ ፕሮሞሽን እሰራላችኋለሁ። just text me, okay? አልጠፋባችሁም። እንዳልጠፋባችሁ ግን ቪዲዮቼ ሪፖስት አድርጉ፣ ቫይራል አውጡት። ወዳችኋለሁ።
You know those roads where car crashes happen way too often? A lot of people die, get killed in these crashes, or get seriously injured. A lot of people speculate that it's not just bad luck, but these roads are attached to something paranormal, jinn, a spirit, or just dark energy that sucks and pulls people in. After listening to this story, you're gonna never want to drive during a storm or in the dark at night ever again. This guy called Anthony, he lives in America, goes to college there. He was dating this girl who lives an 8-hour drive away. Every Friday night, this man was committed. He used to drive 8 hours there to see his girlfriend, stay for the weekend, and then drive 8 hours back. This drive was part of his life routine. He knew the way there and back by heart. And he also used to stop at the same little restaurant every single time. The restaurant was in the midway point of the journey. And he was there so often, all the staff and the regulars in that restaurant knew him. One Friday, he's getting ready to do this 8-hour drive and his mum comes to stop him. And she tells Anthony, don't do this drive. I have this weird gut feeling like don't do it. There's also a storm coming. It's dangerous. Don't drive. Anthony basically said back to his mom, I'm going to go on this drive anyway. I've driven this journey so many times. I've driven in the rain so many times. I'll be fine. So he got ready and he left. He gets to the midway point and stops at the same restaurant he always stops at. Anthony recognised the waitress and the waitress also recognised Anthony. So she took his order, but Anthony noticed that she was just really off. Anthony asked her, like, what's going on? Are you okay? She replied, like, a storm's coming. She just feels off. Like, she just had a gut feeling that something wasn't right. So when Anthony left the restaurant, she locked the door straight after him. So he was the last person in that restaurant. Anthony noticed this, but he didn't really care. He just got in his car, put on a podcast and continued his journey. And it starts to piss it down, like crashing it down rain. He's driving in this crazy storm. Everything seems fine. He's on this long stretch of road, basically in the middle of nowhere. And he notices there was a woman on the side, just left on the road. He reckons that maybe she got in a fight or an argument with whoever's car she was in and basically got dumped and left on the side of the road. So he goes to try and help this woman, pulls up his car on the side of the road, quite a bit of space in front of her, so he can see her figure in his mirror.
Want to know a really crazy and creepy story? This is not that woman's real face. No, she's currently wearing a mask. This is what she really looks like. This is Jonna Mendez, the chief of disguise. This photo was taken in the 1990s when she was working for President George H.W. Bush. A lot of people are baffled by this because if this is how realistic it looked back in the 90s, imagine how convincing the masks look now. Like, looking at this photo, you would not have known that she's wearing a mask. She completely fooled the president and everyone else in the room. So imagine how much has evolved since then. And you hear all those celebrity conspiracies of like, oh, this person looks a little different. Why does it look like they're wearing a mask? Or this person is being replaced by someone. Maybe they just have really realistic masks now. And that's why everyone's looking at the ears. They say that's a dead giveaway.
What the fuck was that? Bro!
What's going on around you?
I don't know. I'm frozen. I am frozen. Did the window break?
Do you guys want to hear a true scary story that's going to make you not want to sleep tonight? Just in time for Halloween spooky season. So for context, I used to babysit for an extremely haunted house, and it was for two girls. The oldest one I called Luna, protection of her identity, and the youngest one I called Aura. So basically, Luna was very attached to her imaginary friend in the home named Pete, who is actually a demonic entity, but appeared to her as a little boy and was an imaginary friend. There was also another spirit that was in the home that was demonic, and I called this one Bathsheba. So basically there's Pete and there's Bathsheba. I called this one Bathsheba because she reminded me so much of Bathsheba from The Conjuring. Was just terrifying, looked a lot like her, but less detailed and a little more transparent, if that makes sense. Like, I could kind of see through this, but like literally could see through her shadow, if that makes sense. That was a weird glitch. Whoa. Anyways, one night I was babysitting and Luna was throwing a fit of all fits because she couldn't find the Barbie that she wanted. It was a brand new Barbie. She was super excited about it, and she had been carrying it around with her for the past like 3 times I was babysitting there, just attached to it. So anyways, on this particular day, we were in the living room, me and the girls, and it had already been a highlighted day of activity. The whole day I felt like I was already being watched. I was very uncomfortable. I was feeling literally like breathing down my neck. I was seeing things out of the corner of my eye. Activity was really